Every weekend, I take the time to mark my levels and build a trading plan for the week ahead. And this process is really the foundation of how I find high probability setups every single day. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through that whole process step by step. I'm gonna take you through it live as I do it and prepare for the week. And I'm gonna show you exactly how I do it. And then I'm gonna show you how I turn those levels into a clear trading plan for the next session. By the way, I do trade live every single day, so you can actually see how I execute these levels in real time, because finding the levels is one thing, but actually turning them into profitable trades is a whole different thing. And then additionally, I do have a free Discord. There's a link in the description below. I would love to have you guys join there. I do share my trading plan each day, so I can help my community grow as well. All right, let's dive into the charts. Here we are on the charts. First thing I do is just I reset it. I remove all of my drawings and start with a fresh chart. And this video is really just gonna be raw. I'm gonna take you through me actually setting up my charts for the week. It's not gonna be scripted and edited and all that stuff. So hopefully you guys find this useful. First thing I do is go to my volume profile on the 1 minute chart. I'm gonna find my weekly levels. So I scroll all the way back to the beginning of the week for last week's open, which will be Sunday night at 5 o'clock Central Time, 6 o'clock Eastern, depending on what time zone you're in. So let me scroll back to Sunday, and then I take this fixed range volume profile tool, and I'll start the first click on Sunday at 5 o'clock Central. Click there and then scroll all the way over to the Friday night close. And I do this over the weekend, so it's pretty easy to locate where the Friday night close is. So that's where the second click goes. And make sure you're doing this on the 1 minute chart because it calculates it better. And then I scroll all the way back to the beginning of this indicator, spread it out a little bit so it's easier to see the levels. But what I do is mark the previous week's value area high, value area low, and point of control. So I take my little horizontal ray tool. I save it on my favorites bar down here, horizontal ray, and I'll click the top of the white shaded area, because the white area for me and how I have it on my indicator is the value area. I think by default it's like a bright yellow and blue, so you can change the colors to however you want. But this is the value area high, and then I have this saved as a template. So I can come over here and you can see all my different things that I have saved just to make it easier for labeling it. So this one, previous week, value area high. I do it again for the bottom of the white shaded region. That is previous week, value area low. And then the way the chart is right now, it's hard to see, but there's a white line for the point of control. So this right here, where the white line extends, that's the point of control for the week. So I'll take one more line, put it right on top of that, and label that as the previous week's point of control. And then what I do, the reason I put those lines there is because I want to delete this, just to keep my chart a little bit cleaner. So I do the 1 minute chart for that, and then I also mark the previous session's volume profile. So this one, I use an indicator for this one just to make it a little bit easier. This SVP over here, session volume profile, that marks it off for each New York session. That's what I have the settings as. If you come over here, inputs, for me, Central Time, 8:30 to 1500. So that would be 9:30 to 4 o'clock Eastern Time. And then, again, on the 1 minute chart, because it calculates more accurately there, I take my horizontal ray tool and I'll mark off the yellow dotted line is the point of control. So the regular point of control, not the one for the week. And then the top of the white, if you zoom this way a little bit, it makes it easier to see. Hopefully you guys can see that on the screen. But the top of the white is the value area high. And the bottom of the white is the value area low. So this example that I'm walking you guys through right now, it was kind of a choppy day. It just dumped at the open and then chopped around here the rest of the day. So this might not be, honestly, a fantastic example for how to use the session volume profile from the previous session, but I will still show you guys how I'm going to come up with my trading plan. This is something that I do every single weekend, regardless of what the previous day looked like. It's still valuable information, but the biggest thing is finding levels with the higher time frame visible range volume profile, which I'll show you here next. So again, I'll turn off my indicator just to make it a little bit cleaner. Now, these nodes over here on the right, this is the visible range volume profile. And this is basically going to show all of the volume for everything that's on the screen. So right now I'm on the 1 minute time frame. Watch it when I move to the 15 minute or any time frame, you can see that recalculates and it changes. So if I zoom in a little bit and put more price action on the screen, it's going to recalculate and change a little bit. Let's move to the 30 minute. You can see that it changes again. So I usually, this is a little bit kind of based on discretion, you know, like it can change depending on how you zoom in or zoom out. So what I do is I use several different time frames. I'll look at the 30 minute, the 1 hour, the 4 hour, and basically I'm using these high volume nodes to find support and resistance areas and making sure that they all kind of line up and make sense. So let's start off. The thing about the current price action as of today, we've been so bullish, like on the 4 hour time frame, where we've kind of been making new all-time highs for the last month or so, or at least chopping around at the highs. So there's not a ton of price action up here when I zoom out to the 4 hour. Let's say, I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but let's say we drop down to 22,000 or 21,000 or something like that on NASDAQ. You can see there's a lot more volume down in this area. So zooming out to the higher time frame is going to be important because you want to get all of this price action from 8, 9, 10 months ago in the volume that you're looking at. Now, since most of our price action is up here and it's been within the last 4 or 5 months, I can come down to the 1 hour or the 30 minute and still get most of that within my screen zoomed in. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. All right, so I'm going to start off on the 1 hour. And I'm going to take this little rectangle tool, and I've actually changed the template to make it scope extend left and right. So you can see this gray shaded area, it extends left and right when I put my rectangle tool on. So I'll show you how I do that. Come over to the rectangle tool on the left here. And when I make that, you just click on the settings here, extend left and right. And then I save that as a template. You can see over here, let me move it up a little bit so you can see it. But my template is a scope. I saved it like that. So every time I use the rectangle tool and I want it to scope left and right like that, I can just choose this template. All right, so let me delete that because that was just an example. So what I'm looking for here is a couple areas of high volume above and below current price action. So current price action is right here where my cursor is at about 23,462. So I'm going to find a couple levels above and a couple levels below just so that I can see if price goes up, where it might find resistance, and if price goes down, where it might find support. So this level up here, kind of sitting towards all-time highs at 23,900. The next level that you can see that's sticking out right here, high volume, that means that a lot of price action was happening in this level. And if price were to come up, that might be an area where it would hit resistance. So that's why I'm marking these off. I'll show you how I make my trading plan based off of this in a little bit. But I'll put another scope here. This whole area right here is all kind of one big zone. So instead of making, like you can see, if I put a big rectangle right there, that's just a huge level. Like that's from the bottom of that would be 23,475 up to 23,624. That's like a 175 point range. I want to be able to narrow that down a little bit more. So I'm going to actually zoom into the 15 or the 30 minute time frame here in a little bit to narrow that down some. So I'll kind of ignore this big section. The next section that I see is down here at like 23,394. And then I'll mark off one more below, because like I said, I usually try to find one or two above and one or two below. So this would be the next level. And then if for some reason the market just opens super bearish and it just dumps and like passes through my level and I need to find more, I can do that later. But while we're here, since this one is kind of obvious, I'll mark off that one. All right, so now, like I said, I kind of skipped this whole area right here because it's just one giant block. I want to narrow that down a little bit, so I'm going to come to the 30 minute. I'll keep the levels that I had on previously. I'll come to the 30 minute, and what I'm doing here is just kind of confirming that the levels that I marked off previously still make sense. So you can see these ones down here, those do make sense from what I can see. This one right here, let me zoom in a little bit so hopefully you guys can see this. This one, it looks like I could maybe come up a little bit higher, because now that I've gotten a little zoomed in, I can see more detail. Price is sitting right at a support zone right now, so I'll keep that in mind. All right, so now we're getting into that big block area that on the 1 hour time frame, it kind of just looked like one big lump. Now that I'm zoomed in, I can separate it a little bit. So I'm going to take my rectangle tool again, mark off that level right there, because that looks like it's sticking out a little bit. And then I'll do one more above right there. So hopefully you guys are able to see this on the screen. But those are my support and resistance levels. And that's kind of what I'm seeing. I could actually mark off one more up here at 23,600. On the higher time frame, the 1 hour when I did it previously, these ones up here were quite a bit more obvious. But currently, price is sitting at 23,454. If it came all the way up here to 23,750, that's 300 points away. And I'm going to miss quite a few trades in between then, because it could still hit resistance at some of these levels. All right, so that is how I find the higher time frame support and resistance levels using visible range volume profile. Next thing I'm going to do, turn off my VRVP indicator, and then I'm going to use these levels from my support and resistance and from my session volume profile to come up with a couple of scenarios for what I think is going to happen when the market opens. What I'm going to do is just come up with two if-then scenarios. If price holds above a certain level, then I think we are going to be bullish and we're going to go to this next level. And then if price drops below a certain level, then I think this is the next level that it could go to. That is the format of how I set up my trading plan. So looking at the 30-minute time frame, this gray shaded area right here was one of the higher time frame support levels that I found. You also can see that it's been tested 3 times now. So let me find my little circle tool. Oh, I lost my favorite toolbar. Let me find it again. All right. So we have one test here, almost a test there, and then one test there. So, and another one, if you look here. So several tests, like almost 5 times, you could say. All right. So this level is pretty significant. And Friday, when we shopped around, we held this level. So this is telling me that we're at a pretty significant level. If we hold above this general area from like 23,380-ish to 23,420-ish, then I think that we could get a bounce. So this giant drop right here we haven't retraced any of that at all. So in general, the last day since Thursday, so 2 days, the last 2 days we've been pretty bearish. Higher time frame, like if you look at the daily time frame, we're still bullish, but we could possibly get a little bit of a retracement. So I'm not thinking that we're just gonna like go to the moon and go to all-time highs. I'm just looking at day by day what I think could happen. So my thought process is this is a significant level. If we open up and we bounce, then, let me get my little arrow tool. So if we hold above this level, then I think this is kind of the next scenario that we could come to. And I'll tell you why. Because this is the next like kind of significant support resistance level. We also could potentially stop here. So if I took a trade, then I would probably take profits around here and then also have my final target be here. The reason this is my like long ultimate target if we go long is because this also would fill a fair value gap, and there's that big drop right there, not having retested it, is something that my eyeballs catch. So if we hold above this 23,400 level, that is what I'm thinking could be our target for longs. If we drop below, so let me get my arrow tool here, if we drop below this level, I'll make this red since this is our bearish scenario, and then we retest this 400 level, and we start to move back down, then we could fall to some of these areas down here. So we have 23,200, 60-ish, and then another one below at 23,220-ish. And NASDAQ likes to grab wicks. So there's a nice little wick that hasn't been grabbed down here. So I could definitely see that being a target at like 23,200 if we have a bearish scenario. So I'm actually going to extend this arrow down a little bit to here. All right. So that would be my trading scenarios for tomorrow. Tomorrow we actually do have a holiday, so I would say not so sure what's going to happen tomorrow. This actually might apply to Tuesday once the New York session opens up. So this weekend's a little bit funky for that. But this would be how I would trade it. So I would be patient and watch this level, because as you can see, there have been a couple wicks down below. So if it kind of wicks down and then like closes back above, that could be a fake out. It could just kind of grab some liquidity and close back above this 420 level. That would be a good indication that we're going to hold this level and go long. But if we see a lot of selling pressure, a lot of volume to the downside, and we actually get a candle that closes down below here on like the 15-minute time frame, and then we come back up and retest it, that is when I would be looking for an entry to go short. So hopefully that helps you guys see how I set up my charts, how I find my levels, first of all, and then the thought process that I go through to come up with my trading scenarios. I come up with a plan A, plan B, a bullish scenario, a bearish scenario, and then I try to stick with that trend. So if in these examples, if we hold above this 23,420 level, then I would try to stick with longs for the day until proven otherwise, and we get below this level, then I would be looking for shorts. So that helps me not get tilted and switch back and forth so much for the day. But yeah, if you have any questions at all, you guys, comment below. I'm happy to expand on any of this stuff. I love teaching other people and helping other people. And again, come trade with me live at the New York Open, 8:30, 8:15 Central Time every morning. I would love to share with you guys this, and then join my Discord so you can see my trading plan that I share with my community each day. All right, hopefully this was helpful, you guys. Take care.